And good afternoon. Welcome to the Booth with Darren Todd on KDX AM 1590. Thank you for making us part of your day. I'm very excited for our show today. We are going to talk about something that is very near and dear to my heart, very important for the area, and that is the Delta Children's Home. And we're very lucky to have a current board member who's been a board member in the past, and I think a past president of the Delta Children's Home, Melinda Harris. Melinda, welcome to the booth.
Thank you.
Is it all right if I call you Melinda?
Absolutely.
Melinda, for those who don't know you, tell us a little bit about yourself.
I was born and raised in Kennett. Dated my high school sweetheart since I was 15 years old, Darren Harris, who's also from here. Went to college at the University of Missouri in Columbia. Got a degree in elementary education. Came back and got a master's degree in secondary education with administration. And finished some certification there, administrative certification. Darren was in pharmacy school at UMKC in Kansas City at the time, and he moved back also the same time that I graduated, and we got married in 1994, and we've made Kennett our home. We have 3 children. Britt, who is married, his wife is Reagan Harris. Reagan's a dental hygienist at Bircham Dental Arts. Britt's a farmer here in Kennett. Kaiten, our middle child, just moved back this year. She graduated pharmacy school from the University of Mississippi last May, and she's a pharmacist at Harris Pharmacy with her dad now. And Annelle, our youngest, is a senior at the University of Mississippi, and she is looking to get into dental school after she graduates in May. She would like to enter dental school next year.
Outstanding. And, Melinda, you and I go back a ways. We've talked in the past and things of that nature. Tell me a little bit about the Delta Children's Home. What exactly is the Delta Children's Home? What's its purpose?
The Delta Children's Home, the idea for the Delta Children's Home, its conception came around in 1960, and it was the 20th Century Club. I looked up a little bit of history of it. It was the 20th Century Civic Club that kind of got the idea that thought there were children in need of fostering at that time in Kennett, and were looking for a place for basically an emergency shelter. And in 1966, that is when they actually opened the doors of the pharmacy, of the children's home. I had pharmacy on my mind there for a second. They opened the doors of the children's home. At that time, it was just a single home. It was not a boys' home and a girls' home. They had children there together, had a house parent hired. The house parent was not a foster parent, more of an employee that just helped take care of the children. In 1972, Charky Martin, who happens to be my aunt,
I love Charky Martin.
Me too. She headed up the first auction for the children's home in an attempt to raise money to build a second home. She said, I talked to her this morning, she said it was Pete Droke from Hornersville's idea to have an auction to try to attempt to raise money for a second home because they thought there was a need for both a girls' home and a boys' home. And she said this morning that she begged Pete Droke not to have the auction that year because she happened to be pregnant with her middle child, Sarah Beth. But Pete would not have it, that they were going to have an auction that year. They were going to start fundraising that year. So Charky was the chairman, and she had Sarah Beth in September, and they had the first Delta Children's Home auction in November of that year, 72. And then they raised money for several years, and then in 78, they opened up the second home, which then they were able to separate, have a boys' home and a girls' home. Again, all of this was at a time when everything was run off of donations, still is. We don't receive any sort of government assistance for our children's home, which I find to be very unique, really, in this day and age with so much government funding for everything else, it seems like. But the children's home, since its conception, has always been on local donations here in Kennett. So in 78, they opened up the second home. And then it went along functioning that way until, I believe, 2010. And 2010, somewhere between 2005, 2010, I talked with Judge Scheer this morning because he happened to be on the board with me when it kind of switched from an employee-based children's home to a foster children's home. In somewhere between 2005 and 2010, we happened to be the only children's home in the state of Missouri that was operating the way we were operating with employees and just having one employee there at the time. the state was mandating that if we continued under that style of children's home, that we would have to have two people awake 24 hours in order to staff that house. Well, you can do the math very quickly and go from one person, sort of as just operating as a parent, sleeping at night, able to go about during the day to get groceries or whatever when the kids are at school, to having two full-time people awake 24 hours, not leaving the home. We decided at that time, I was on the board during that time, to go to this new formation, I guess, of it, or however you want to call it, where we would operate as a foster home. And it was a big decision because when you change into that format, you lose a lot of the control that you have over it, because then that foster parent is basically just living in the children's home. They operate, they are in charge of the family, they're in charge of decision making, they're in charge of everything except for the facilities, basically. But it has really worked out beautifully for us, in my opinion. We have had some great foster parents come through. The Champions is their last name, who are from Bernie. They live in Bernie now. They were our first that I can remember foster parents to come in there and run the large home where we are now over on Homecrest. And they have adopted 3 of those children that they had when they started here with us. Those children, of course, are now adults and functioning in society. But and interesting enough, some of their relatives are interested in coming back when they get their foster license. They're working on it right now and possibly applying for one of the homes that are open right now. But that is sort of when we switched over. And the system that we're under now, it works great, and it is very much more financially stable for us. We do provide the house parents with a monthly stipend to help out with cost and everything. And also for utilities. We give them a certain stipend. And then we're sort of available for support, anything that they would need, if they need extra things or if they need help with the kids, or basically just a support system for them. In addition, they do get funding from the state, just as they would if these children were in their own home. So they do not lose the funding from the state simply because there are house parents. And so, we've been operating that way. During COVID, we had trouble getting people in the home, of course, because Children's Division wasn't placing anyone there. And so for a while, we were basically shut down totally, but we were able to use that time to remodel both of the homes. And I believe you were at one of the open houses that we had, so you were able to see what a nice job Carrie Pritchett did heading up that remodel in both homes. So we were able to use that time during COVID and the few years after, when maybe the house parents and the children weren't readily available to be there for us. We were able to use that time to remodel the homes.
And again, we're going to welcome the booth with Darren Todd on KDX AM 1590, talking to Melinda Harris, a board member of the Delta Children's Home, talking a lot about the history of the Delta Children's Home, the organization, kind of a little bit of how it started, things of that nature. And Melinda, you were talking about some of the parents who've lived in the home before. It takes a special person to want to live at the Delta Children's Home, and and not in a negative way. It just you're taking these kids in that are traumatized, and you have to understand that it's going to be day or night for an emergency situation. So it takes a very special individual
Absolutely.
to do that. So is it my understanding we're currently looking for some people? Is that correct?
Yes. We have a young couple in the home in the smaller home right now. And that is Logan and Elena Rhines, and they are there. Logan is a mechanic at Baker Implement, and Elena works at a daycare in Campbell. And they are currently housing their own 2 children, in addition to 4 foster children that are there with them. They have been there for a year or so, and they do a great job. We do have an opening in the larger home. We call it the larger home. It can house up to 12 children, but the state will only let us house 6 children there if it's just one couple or one foster family there. So the larger home is open right now. We're looking for people. And what's so interesting is when we advertised for this job the first time, we put it out there, and they're like, okay, who's going to put their cell phone number in? And everybody on the board was like, oh, man, I'm not putting my cell phone number. I mean, I'm really busy during the day. I'm like, okay, I'll put my cell phone number. My cell phone goes out on all the community Christmas flyers, all the back to school flyers. So it's pretty much very public information. And our stipend at the time was $2,000 plus $350 a month for utilities. So I'm thinking these guys are getting paid from the state for these children, plus they're going to get $2,350 a month from us. My phone is getting ready to ring off the wall. We posted it on Facebook. That day, I received 2 calls. That was it. And I mean, we interviewed a couple of different people, but it is just such a unique and different situation that people just really, it takes a special person, in my opinion, that feels really led to do that job. People, right now in Dunklin County, the first time we started looking for house parents, the second go around that I was on the board, once we got the houses remodeled and everything, I asked Children's Division, I'm like, how many foster children do we have in Dunklin County right now? And it was like 110 foster children. And I said, okay, how many licensed foster parents' homes do we have? And the answer to that was 8. So there are a lot of kinship placements, things along that line that are not going to certified foster parents. They're just going to someone else in the family. And I think Children's Division gets a lot of criticism a lot of times because people say, well, we hotline this, we need these children removed from the home, but they literally have no place to put them. And the children's home can provide that place. And that's why it's so important that we keep both homes open and that we keep them to maximum capacity.
And again, we're on Welcome to the Booth with Darren Todd on KDX AM 1590, talking to Melinda Harris, a member, board member. Are you president again, Melinda?
No, I'm not. I'm secretary.
Secretary of the Delta Children's Home Board. And we're talking a lot about the houses. There's the big house and the little house, as we've always called them. You indicated that you're looking for someone to fill the big house position. If someone was interested, how will they get a hold of you, or how will they do that? Is there a website, a Facebook
There's
page?
a Facebook page. The Delta Children's Home has a Facebook page, and we have some information on there about that we are looking for homes. My cell phone number is 573-344-0775. If anybody is interested, you could message me through Facebook or contact me on my cell phone. You do have to be a certified foster parent, but if someone is interested, they could be working on that, and we could know that, when they finish that certification, they would be ready to go. The certification is a much shorter time period and much less strenuous certification than it used to be, simply because we need more foster parents. And I know I've been through a kinship placement, have fostered 4 different children in my homes for different amounts of times. And it is a hard job. And so it does take someone that is led to do it, that really cares and loves for children. But I think that those people are out there, and that there's those people in our community or the surrounding community that we can find that really would like to give back in this way, or maybe don't have children of their own, or just, would like to explore in this. The good thing about this job is we don't have anybody sign a 1 or 2 year contract. If they get in there and they like it, that's great. If they get in there and after a month decide, hey, this is not for me, I do not want to do this, then of course we don't want that person there. So it's not like if someone does apply and we get them in there, they're stuck there for 6 months or a year.
And again, everyone, welcome to the booth with Darren Todd on KDX AM 1590, talking to Melinda Harris, member of the Delta Children's Home Board of Directors, talking a lot about the vacancy in the big home, as we call it. If you're interested, you can get on the Facebook page for the Delta Children's Home, or you can call Melinda, ask anybody in Southeast Missouri. They'll have her cell phone number, and apply. It's a situation in which, a lot of people say, well, Melinda, can I work another job and still do this? Because my understanding is these children are from all over the Dunklin County area, not just Kennett. It can be Arbor, Cardwell, Clarkton, Malden,
Yes.
anywhere in Dunklin, Holcomb. And we try to make it so that they go to the school which they came from when they were removed. So there's a lot of travel involved, but it's an opportunity that you can do this and also have an outside job, correct?
Yes, absolutely. Just as I mentioned earlier, the young couple right now that is in the smaller home, Logan's a mechanic at Baker Implement. Elena works at a daycare in Campbell. Some of her children go to Kennett schools that she's fostering, go to Kennett schools, and then go to a daycare here in Kennett where she's able to pick them up when she gets off work. They had a high school student for some amount of time that actually had been in school at Zenith, and they were willing, which was very nice because I know it would be very tempting to say, hey, the high school's right across the street. How about you try Kennett out? They did not. They transported the student to and from Zenith every day and were able to keep her in her normal school setting where she wanted to be. But yes, you can hold at normal jobs. What some people ask is, okay, does the board provide, like they call it, respite care? Do they provide babysitting? We have helped out with that. It's not something that as a board we're required to do or anything. Most of the foster families work out with other foster families. If they need to be away for a night or so, they'll try to have another foster parent come in and maybe bring the children they're fostering into the children's home and stay for the night or whatever. I've also found that a lot of people that foster a lot of kids don't really go a lot of places for the weekend or anything like that. It's just easier to stay put than to try to get everybody taken care of. But there is that respite care within the foster care system. And then, of course, the board members can help out when needed also, like after school time or something like that, or transportation and so forth. We also have 2 vehicles that go along with the jobs. We have a large van, like a 10-passenger van that goes with the larger home, and then we have like a minivan that can transport 6 children that goes with the smaller home.
And again, we're on Welcome to the Booth with Darren Todd on KDX AM 1590. Talking to Melinda Harris, board member of the Delta Children's Home, talking a lot about the children's home and the big house and little house, some of the things that go along with the job, the amenities and things of that nature. And Melinda, one thing, we talked about the remodeling and things of that nature. What we want people to know is these houses are designed to be like houses that myself or you or anyone in the area would live in. This is not a Spartan dorm setting. This is for a quality housing environment for both the house parents and the children, correct?
Correct, yes. And, Darren, what's interesting is you mentioned that, and something that really has kind of enlightened me since we've had both homes filled within the year is the amount of cost involved with that. You own your home, so it seems like something is always coming up. And so that is where our donations, we know how much we need for a year to operate the homes just based on the salaries and the stipends that we're providing to the house parents and the regular utility bills and all that kind of thing. But my goodness, I did not anticipate what I've seen this year I had forgotten, the homes are older. I mean, they're not new. Of course, the Church of Christ owned those homes before the Children's Home bought them, and they were a Church of Christ Children's Home at that point in time. And so they're not new. And with that, it has just been cost after cost after cost. And so as we, attempt to hire more house parents, we actually had to lower our stipend. The stipend that we are offering this time around is just $1,500. And we really, had to look at that at our board meeting. And Will Mobley is our treasurer. And if you know anything about the Mobleys, you know that they're not going to let us just spend money that we don't have. And so Will is very, very on top of it with our money and making sure that everything is, tended to and everything, and, a new air conditioner. And this is with a lot of the people coming in, doing the labor at cost, just providing the supplies. Right now, Andy Johnson is starting to work this week, in fact, on a new fence. Shane Stewart mows Shane Stewart's on the board. He takes care of all of the lawn care. And he said, our fence, he was dating himself because he said it looked like the Kool-Aid man ran through the fence. I said, you're really dating yourself on that one.
Yeah.
So anyway, he said either the Kool-Aid man or the Tasmanian devil ran through the back fence. And, we've got children there, and so we want to keep a fenced-in area, but replacing the whole fence, that's a cost that we didn't expect. The alarm system, we had major problems with that. Had to replace one of the security systems in one of the homes. There's just cost after cost after cost that you don't expect. And with us being totally based on community donations, not 1 cent of government funding, we really have to stay on top of that, and we really depend on our community. And our community has been great for that from starting of that auction in 72 up until now. We have the golf tournament that used to be the Kennett Cup that's now named the Harold Perkins Memorial Golf Tournament, and the Sheryl Crow birthday drive. That birthday drive started in 2001, and I don't know over the years how much money it has raised, but I know this year it raised $27,000. This year the golf tournament raised right at $30,000. And those are our two main fundraisers. We're starting a new one in February, which is going to be super fun. This is the first announcement of it. So I hope it's okay with the board. I didn't even tell them I was going to tell this, but we're having some mouse races at the Opera House. I don't know if you've ever attended mouse races before, but it is a very fun event.
And again, we're on Welcome to the Booth with Darren Todd on KDX AM 1590, talking to Melinda Harris, the board member of the Delta Children's Home, and we're going to get into what I called, I did graduate college. I know everyone finds that hard to believe, and I do have an advanced degree. Isn't that right, Misty? I don't give her a microphone because I don't want her to say anything. But I was a Phi Delt at Cape, and we had what was called rowdy rat races. In which we would auction off mice and we would race them against each other. Is that something that you're going to do?
Yes.
This is the greatest idea.
It's really fun.
So obviously you've done a lot of research into this. Is this correct?
Well, I first attended the mouse races with Amy and Aaron Pixley, our good friends who moved back to Dexter. And Dexter has these mouse races every year. And it is really fun. And they invited me. And of course, you know me, I don't like to be outdone.
I'm aware.
At the mouse races, I happen to buy every mouse and give them Kennett Indian names. And all our Dexter fans that are listening right now, they didn't find it near as humorous as I did. But it was great fun.
And again, we're on Welcome to the Booth with Darren Todd on KDEX AM 1590, talking to Melinda Harris, talking about the Rowdy Rat Race. That's going to be in February.
Yes, and so there's a company that actually brings these mice. They have like this whole big setup where there's these mice, and they each have their own lane. They're lined up on top of each other, like lanes 1 through 8. And you can bet on which mouse you think is going to win.
Right.
And then the mice race, and you see if your mouse wins or not. And all of it, of course, is raised. All the money raised, it goes to donations. This would be for the Delta Children's Home in Dexter. They do for their cancer. It's not. I can't think of the name. Scott Cruz
Take
runs.
4.
Okay.
Yes.
Scott Cruz runs the operation there. Yeah. It's a fundraiser for them.
Right.
But they have different, also like maybe some silent auction items, and then some other things that you can, you do to raise money. And it was really fun. And so, we kind of tossed around the idea and we're like, let's try it because we need another fundraiser. We are dependent on the Harold Perkins Memorial Golf Tournament. We're dependent on the birthday drive, but we also need something else. Those two are just enough to keep our head above the water. They're not enough to give us a little bit of extra money if anything major happens to the homes that we have to repair, or that we have to fix, or if there's a problem. And so we're going to try that out. So we hope a lot of people will come out in February. I don't know the exact date. I should know it, but it's in mid-February. We thought that might be a good time when it's winter and people are ready to get out for a fun night. We've got the Opera House rented. We've got the mouse races guy on reserve, and so we're going to try it out.
And again, we're on Welcome to the Booth with Darren Todd on KDX AM 1590, talking to Melinda Harris, board member of the Delta Children's Home, talking a lot about the sources of revenue for the Delta Children's Home. Obviously, is the Harold Perkins Cup. There's also the Sheryl Crow birthday fundraiser, and there's also going to be rat races,
mouse races.
Mouse races. I like rat races, but
let's not confuse it with the Phi Delt rowdy rat races.
That was the greatest time. We rented the Pike Lodge. We had a great time, but all that's the statute of limitations is all ran on all that. So, Melinda, if I was just wanting to say, hey, I want to donate some money to the Children's Home, how would I go about doing that?
Well, as I mentioned, Will Mobley is our treasurer, and probably the easiest way to do that would just be to drop by Cena State Bank and drop a check off and put Will Mobley's name on it. Of course, you could drop something off at Harris Pharmacy also, or Biologics, where Michelle Perez, she's our current president. where she works. Any of those places on the Delta Children's Home Facebook page also, there is a post office box listed where donations can be sent. Will's real diligent at checking our mail and getting donations there. Right now, in fact, we are coming up on the Harold Perkins Memorial Kennett Cup, and that is scheduled for October 26th. And if you go to our Facebook page, you'll see tons of shout outs right now. We are currently collecting donations for sponsors, whole sponsors. You can be a $200 whole sponsor or a $100 whole sponsor. And we'll give you a shout out on Facebook, which tons of people are on social media now. We will have your name on a little sign that goes by the whole that you're sponsoring. And then we would also have your name or your business's name on the banner. What we noticed last year was we were kind of just targeting businesses. And our board members, were each assigned, the drill, like you're assigned 15 businesses and you've got to contact them to, get your donation or whatever. And we found that individuals actually started contacting us wanting to give. And so we got probably, I would say 25 to 30% of our donations for whole sponsors and just sponsorship of the tournament last year in general were from just individuals in the community, maybe who missed giving at that auction that we don't have anymore. So if you would like to give, Kim Collins is also a board member Don Collins has an office here in Kennett that anything could be dropped off to. So again, that would be Cena State Bank, Harris Pharmacy, Biologics, or Don Collins CPA office that you could just drop a check off. If it says Delta Children's Home on it, we will get it to the correct location to Will, our treasurer, and we would definitely appreciate any donations because, again, we are totally community funded.
And again, we're on Welcome to the Booth with Darren Todd on KDX AM 1590, talking to Melinda Harris, board member of the Delta Children's Home, talking a lot about the funding, how to donate to the Children's Home. Melinda, you've been mentioning some of the members of the Delta Children's Home board. I was lucky enough to be on the board for, is it a 4-year term?
3 years, I think.
Term?
Yeah.
3-year term. It might have seemed like 4 years when I was on there, but I was lucky enough to be on there. It was one of the favorite boards I've ever been on just because of the things going on with the Children's Home. How many members are on the Children's Home board right now? I'm going to ask you.
I knew you were going to ask me this, and I almost jotted it down on my notes on the way here in my phone, but I didn't. But our I'm going to try. If I leave somebody out, we'll just hope they don't listen to the radio show, okay? The one that left it out.
Well, that's awful. Only Melinda could wish me the best of, go ahead.
Okay. So our president is Michelle Perez, and she does an outstanding job. I had the opportunity to be on the board with Michelle previously when we made that transition back in 2005 to 2010. Again, we're not sure of the exact date, but Michelle was on the board then with me, as was Will Mobley, who is the treasurer. So Michelle, Will, and I have all served as board members. I think this is my third time to serve as a board member, but I know it's at least their second. And they do an amazing job, both of them, at what they do. Michelle really pours her heart and puts a lot of time and energy to it. Of course, you may or may not know, but Michelle has fostered several children, adopted 2 children through the foster care system, and still is very, very involved, of course, in those lives, as well as other children that she's fostered that she hasn't adopted. And so it's something that's very near and dear to her heart. Will Mobley, of course, he's just a community-minded guy that I love that he's on there with us because, like I said, you don't have to worry about the finances at all if Will Mobley's in charge. He's on top of it, and, it's all being tended to. The bills are all being paid, and everything is going well. Carrie Pritchett is not on the board right now, but I would like to mention her because she has agreed to come back and kind of head up the Kennett Cup, or the Harold Perkins Memorial Golf Tournament. She helped us. When she was on the board, she just got off this past year. She was really instrumental in that, as was her husband, Dustin, in setting up all the teams and getting all the golfers and communicating with the golf course. So Carrie and Dustin, although they're not board members, really help us out with that aspect of that that's just coming up, and we can talk about that a little bit more. Shane Stewart, he's in charge of our facilities. He's our maintenance type board member guy. You know, there's always somebody that's assigned to that. Some of them are better than others. He is outstanding. Is that your job when you're on there?
No. That was not my job. Was talking a lot.
Okay.
And again, we're on Welcome to the Booth with Darren Todd on KDX AM 1590. Talking to Melinda Harris as she's running down the list of the board members on the Delta Children's Home Board. I was going to say about Shane Stewart. Not only is he United States Marine, he's also a decorated Missouri State Highway Patrolman.
Yes.
So
yes.
we're very lucky to have Shane Stewart.
Yes,
I mean
he can
board.
take care of security.
Absolutely.
He can take care of anything we want. The lawn looks great.
Absolutely.
He does that for free. I mean, like he's done an amazing job. I think he gets off this year, and he's another one that I don't know if we're going to let him off or not.
I think he needs to come back. He's in perpetuity. He's just going to have to be on there every year.
Blake Bowers is his understudy.
Absolutely, I love Blake Bowers.
Blake got on with me, and he's doing a great job. He kind of helps Shane with maintenance of the house, as does James Sloan.
I love James Sloan.
James, he's right there, ready to go. We've got Whitey Wallace from down at Zenith.
I'm glad that you got some South
Well,
End
we
people.
we have to get diversity. You know, we can't just all have Kennett people.
Hurt your soul a little bit to have somebody from Zenith on there, didn't it, Melinda?
Well, I like Whitey, so that's okay.
Okay.
Now, also, we have Laura Harris, who her address says Kennett, Missouri, but she is a Zenith Hornersville line.
Well, and again, we're on Welcome to the Booth with Darren Todd on KDX AM 1590. She graduated from Holcomb. Let's not forget that.
Okay, so she was a Hornet. She lives in Kennett, but right now her heart is with the Zenith lines.
Well, once you're in purple, you're always in purple. But I understand, I do have a grandson, Walker, who will soon be going to Zenith Hornersville, and I'm in quite a conundrum.
Well, we'll probably, I hate to tell you, be seeing you in your black and red with a big line on your shirt cheering for Walker.
Yeah, that's probably right.
Those will be the only clothes that I tell Annalise not to be sending my way.
I understand.
Because, Henry gets a lot of walkers. He's in an outfit today out at the fair. I said, where'd we get this cute outfit? Reagan's like, you got it from Annalise. I'm like, oh, yeah, Walker.
Absolutely.
So Laura Harris is on there. Kim Collins is a new board member, and she's doing a really great job. She has kind of taken over on all of our corresponding secretary duties with thank you notes and so forth. And she's been doing all of our Facebook shout outs and social media aspect from that end for the golf tournament that's coming up. Let me think who else. I think that might be it. There were 10 of us. We've lost 2 board members this year due to resignation, one due to getting a new job and one due to health issues.
Right.
And so we usually operate about a 10-person board, and I think we're down to 8.
And again, we're on Welcome to the Booth with Darren Todd on KDX AM 1590, talking to Melinda Harris, board member, Delta Children's Home. And Melinda, I know this is a unique question. A lot of people ask, I would like to be on the Delta Children's Home board. How do I go about getting my name in the hat?
Well, Judge Jason Shear is in charge of appointing board members, and we are constantly looking for people that we think would be good board members that are willing to give of their time and energy. It is a board that you don't just show up once a month and meet and talk about it and go along, your way. Like I said, with 3 major fundraisers: the birthday drive, the Harold Perkins Memorial Golf Tournament, and now the Mouse races. There is some work involved with it, and then also checking in on the homes. Like we're assigned, 2 people are assigned every month to go through and just kind of check on the home, check with the the house parents and see what they need and report back to the board. And so, but if you would just let Judge Jason Shear know, or one of the board members know that, hey, I'm interested in this, we will not only probably be appointing 3 new board members for the ones that are going off, but like I said, with these 2 open spots, there may be as many as 5 board members appointed in January of this year.
I know in the past that the new board members were always introduced at the auction to kind of get people familiar with them. So now it's going to be introduced in January. Is that correct?
Yeah. So now I guess we'll introduce them at the Mouse races.
All right.
Last year they just had to be introduced at the Grecian Steakhouse at our meeting. But now.
Absolutely. And again, we're on Welcome to the Booth with Darren Todd on KDX AM 1590. Talk to Melinda Harris about the Delta Children's Home. If you've not had an opportunity to get on their Facebook page and donate, please do so. It is an outstanding organization. It's very well organized, and it's very much needed here in the area of Dunklin County and the surrounding area. And your money, a lot, as we said, Melinda, a lot of people in memorial or somebody donate to the children's home.
Yes,
It's well
absolutely.
utilized.
You know, I just saw on Facebook this morning where Mike Bell had passed away yesterday, and Mike was a longtime community member here, board member worked at Riggs Supply forever, and he was a board member of the Delta Children's Home, and it really touched me that after being in Springfield for the last probably 15 years, maybe even longer than that, 15 or 20 years possibly, that they've been gone from Kennett, that when I read his obituary, that one of the places where they would like memorials sent was the Delta Children's Home. And so, I think that this place really is unique, and it really makes an impact on people. For forever, when the children's home, before it changed over to the foster home system, it was strictly used as an emergency shelter. So we were housing children, but the children were only supposed to stay there for 30 days. Now, we all know that there were situations of kids that stayed there longer than 30 days. We've heard stories of people report back to us that the children's home saved their life. They stayed, longer than they were supposed to, stayed several years or whatever. But the goal was for emergency placement, and that within 30 days they would be placed in a permanent foster home or another facility. When we changed over to the foster parent system of running our home, then that was no longer emergency placement. So in other words, when a child gets placed there, they're placed in that foster care. They may or may not stay there short term, long term. That's not necessarily set, but it is a place where they can go, in the middle of the night. Lots of times, children, I know kids, they've called me to pick up kids that I'll have a social worker, call some kids that I've worked with, that I've actually fostered, that it's in the middle of the night and they're at the police station and they're just sleeping in a chair up there until someone comes and gets them. And unfortunately, our children's divisions workers just don't have places to put people. We work very closely with Amanda Patrick, who is in charge out there at Children's Division, and they really do the best job that they can do with the resources and places that they have to place kids.
And again, we're on Welcome to the Blue with Darren Todd on KDX AM 1590. Dr. Melinda Harris from the Delta Children's Home. She's a board member, has been. I think this is her third tour of duty, as I like to say, when you're with the Children's Home. And Melinda, I think one thing you'll agree with me when I say is, if you're interested in doing something and you think, well, maybe the Children's Home is not right for me, there's always opportunity to be a foster parent.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, and again, being a foster parent, it's not something that you have to sign a lifetime commitment to. You can get your license within 4 to 6 months through the Children's Division, be approved as a foster parent. If you are a foster parent, you can take what children you want. You can tell them, I would like to be a foster parent, but I only want babies, or I only want teenagers, or I only want sibling groups. And it may not be ideal for them. It may not be their ultimate goal. I mean, I'm sure they would like foster parents that say, hey, I've got 6 open bedrooms and I'll take anybody. But that's not really realistic for a lot of people. So anyone can become a foster parent. You have to have a background check. If you pass that, then you go through the courses. I would encourage people to try it out. It is a lot, but it also is very rewarding. And I'm sure we could talk to a lot of people who had foster families take them in, that it absolutely changed their life. And in fact, I have said for years, we all should have, foster children. Those of us that have extra rooms in our homes. I'm not willing to become a licensed foster parent. I feel selfish and guilty that I'm not, but I'm just not right now. But there are people out there who really feel that calling, and more of us should do it, in my opinion, because there are so many kids out there that need loving homes, that a loving home can really turn them around. So, I would encourage anybody that's thinking about it to try it, and I would encourage anybody that's thinking about maybe trying out the Delta Children's Home and would like to foster there to give it a try. Again, we're not asking you to sign a 6-month commitment, but it is, it's a beautiful home. It's a nice home. It's a good size home. You would be getting a monthly stipend on top of what you receive from the state for the children. And, just try it out. We ask that, you don't have to give up your job. You don't have to sell your home. I know that The Ryans who are there right now, they have maintained their home that they moved out of before they came to the children's home, as did the last parents that were in the larger home, also kept their home in Kennett, and just so that they would have sort of a place to, go back and forth from. But yeah, there's not a lot of requirements. The board is very flexible. We try to be as non-invasive as we can and let people sort of run their own show there, so to speak.
And again, we're on Welcome to the Booth with Darren Todd on KDX AM 1590, talking to Melinda Harris, the board member of the Delta Children's Home, talking a lot about the opening at the home. And Melinda, a lot of people may say, well, I'm interested in doing this and I would like to go into the home. However, I'm scared of what could happen. These children have been removed from these dangerous situations. I'm afraid that if I get involved in it, how am I going to get in the mix of it? But I want everybody to know that no one's going to know where anyone is. And there's also security measures that's taken by the
Absolutely.
home.
Absolutely. And it's just like with anything else. There are a lot of tough situations, but there is, Children's Division is very supportive. If a child is too much, we had a couple of situations this year where after even one night, the house parents called up and said, hey, this is really more than we can handle with what we've got right now. And so Children's Division, picked that child up and ended up taking that child to like a more of a group home type facility, or they might go to, I know that a lot of times when foster families have trouble with children and it becomes greater than what they can handle, then they might go to like a hospital type facility. I know there's a mental health facility in Sykeston that a lot of our children get sent to that may need mental evaluation. I know that there's some children's hospital type deals in Springfield, and then I was able even to visit a large group home. Actually, it had several different campuses in Fredericktown this year. This past December, I visited their facilities there, and they're really, these are the type of facilities that have the two people employed. They're 24 hours, have a staff, have a lot more than what we have. So if anybody gets into the situation and they feel like the children are too much for them to handle, then that's something that Children's Division will always help out with that situation. They're not going to be like, oh, well, you got that kid, you're going to have to take care of them. So.
And again, we're on Welcome to the Booth with Darren Todd on KDX AM 1590, talking to Melinda Harris, a board member of the Delta Children's Home. And Melinda, we got about 10 minutes or so left. I think we need to touch on the upcoming fundraiser that's coming up.
Yes, the 26th, October 26th, will be the annual Harold Simmons Memorial Golf Tournament. And I tried to look back to see when this started. I know that it was originally called the Kennett Cup, and I can remember Harold and some of the golfers coming to I'm sure you remember them coming to the auction and presenting a check.
Yes.
Like the tournament was usually like around mid-October, and then the auction was always the last weekend of October or the first weekend of November. I think usually the last weekend of October. And so that golf tournament was always a couple of weeks before, and Harold and some of the golfers would always come and present the check to the children's home there at the auction. I wish I knew how much money that first golf tournament raised. I have no idea. I tried to look back in some newspaper articles and so forth, but I couldn't find that information. But I know that it had to be, around the 2010s, because it was about 10 years before we finished the auction. The last auction would have been in 2019, because once COVID hit in 2020, that's sort of when the auction went away, and we haven't brought it back since then. And so now it is bigger and better. In fact, it's so big that it has turned into one of our major fundraisers. Golfers can enter for $100, and the teams are divided up again by Dustin Pritchett, a gold team and a black team. And they compete. We have lots of fun, different things going on at the holes. We have different hole prizes. We have different activities up at the clubhouse. Last year we had a break midway through the tournament where golfers could kind of come in and have like a light lunch, a snack, some drinks or so forth, and then go back out and finish the second half of the tournament. lots of ways to make money on the different holes, different like longest putt, things like that, normal golf tournament things. But again, last year this tournament raised $30,000, which was one of our main fundraisers. So anyone that would like to be a sponsor for that, a whole sponsor, again, we have a gold and a black sponsor. One is $100 and one is $200. Now, you don't have to give $100. If you want to give $50, we will be more than happy to take your donation. The $100 just gets you on the black or gold sponsor list. I can't remember which one's $100 and which one's $200, but gets you on a sign on the hole that you're help sponsoring, your name on the banner, and then, of course, a Facebook shout out. And again, this can be businesses, individuals, groups of people, anyone that wants to donate can do so. And again, there's information on our Facebook page. You can let any of the board members know. You could drop a check off to Cena State Bank or Harris Pharmacy, Don Collins CPA office, Biologics with Michelle Perez, any of those 4 places in town, or get a hold of me. Again, my cell phone number is 573-344-0775, and I can come by and pick up a check. Also, Michelle Perez has put her Venmo out there. That's on our Facebook page. I found through the community Christmas party this year that Venmo can really get you some fast money for your organization if you're willing to put your Venmo out there. I felt a little bit awkward with it because I didn't want anyone to think I was like stealing, but the children's home or the community Christmas party didn't have their own Venmo. And so, man, that really makes it easy for people. So if you go to our Facebook page, Michelle Perez has her Venmo on there, and you can Venmo Michelle, and she will in turn make sure that your money gets donated to the golf tournament.
And again, we're on Welcome to the Booth with Darren Todd on KDX AM 1590, talking to Melinda Harris, board member of the Delta Children's Home, talking a lot about the Harold Simmons Memorial Golf Tournament, also used to be known as the Kennett Cup, coming on October 26th. You can sign up that day. Is that correct? Or you
have to sign up ahead of time. If you want to sign up to play golf, you need to get in touch with Dustin Pritchett, and he would be at Farm Bureau right over there in town, and you could talk to him. You could either call him or run by there and let him know that you want to play, and he will get you on the list. I don't think we have to know super in advance, but maybe at least a week before so he can get those teams divided up. And then I think the tournament starts at either 12 or 12:30 on the 26th, and hopefully it'll be a beautiful day of golf, lots of fun activities on the different holes. And again, we depend on that very, very much for all of our funds for the entire year, as we do the birthday drive. And the birthday drive this year was $27,000, which is the most that we have raised on that. Cheryl's birthday is in February, I think February 11th. It's said, I just read that. And so the birthday drive, Beth Shetley heads up here for us.
Okay.
Remember, it used to be Jim Baker.
Right.
And he passed away,
Yes.
I think, in 2022. And also one of her fan forum guy passed away in 2016, Greg, who used to run it on Cheryl's end. And so Beth Shetley has really been a lifesaver for us in taking up, heading up the birthday drive. So that starts in January, goes to like February 11th. And that seems to be interesting enough, a lot of out-of-town people. That's done strictly through social media. And so it's amazing. Cheryl does gives away a different type of guitar or something every year, and people can donate for like a chance to win the guitar. She signs it, gets it to the person, and so that also brings in a ton of money. And we really like to publicly thank Beth Shetley for heading that up for us.
And again, we're on Welcome to the Booth with Darren Todd on KDX AM 1590, talking to Melinda Harris, board member of the Delta Children's Home. A lot about how to donate if you're interested. And a lot of people in the area, I'd say this: if you're listening to the radio and you're living in Corning, Arkansas, you're living in Dexter, Puxico, Cardwell, and you just had some event or somewhere where a foster parent or someone was very influential in your life and you want to give a little bit of money in honor of those folks.
Absolutely. We have a lot of people that will set up memorials or just and give to the children's home, or just send a donation in honor of someone. And of course, we will let that, if we, have the address of that person, of course, we will get that. And Kim Collins will get a thank you, personal handwritten thank you note out to them. And I think that really means a lot to people. And I think it's a great cause that without local donations, we absolutely would not be able to function. And we've realized that right now that, missing the auction, and there was some talk of bringing the auction back, but we really just felt like the auction had run its course. Auctions, things do not seem to be going for as much. I don't know if there's so much available now out there on Facebook Marketplace and all that kind of stuff, but people just don't seem as interested as an auction. And so that's why, in place of that, the Kennett Cup has really taken over, and then we still needed to add another fundraiser, and that's why we decided to do the mouse races in February.
And again, we're on Welcome to the Booth with Darren Todd on KDX AM 1590 with Melinda Harris, the current secretary,
yes,
of the Delta Children's Home Board of Directors, talking about the mouth race, which is going to take place in February. We're not sure of the date, but it'll be at the Opera House here in Kennett.
Yes, I think it's around the 20th or something, like maybe the third weekend in February. But so we're coming up. We're going to have in October, we're going to have the golf tournament, of course, October 26th.
Yes.
And then we'll turn around in January and have the Sheryl Crow birthday drive that will go until like February 11th. And then towards the end of February, we'll have those mouse races. So there's going to be lots of opportunities that you can give to the Delta Children's Home now between October and the end of February. And I know that's a busy time for people, but, maybe it could be something also that people could just, kind of start in October, jotting it in their regular yearly donations that they give, to either the tournament or the mouse races or the birthday drive, and just maybe have a set amount that they want to give every year. That would really help us out, because again, we're totally based on community donations, no government funding whatsoever, and so we depend on our donors for everything from fixing a new air conditioner to lawn care to help supplement through stipends the house parents that are fostering there.
And again, we're on Welcome to the Booth with Darren Todd on KDX AM 1590. We're winding down with Melinda Harris, the secretary of the Delta Children's Home Board of Directors. And if you're interested in becoming a foster parent, reach out to the website, reach out to the cell phone number that Melinda's given out there, reach out to any of the members of the Board of Directors. Give it a shot. It's definitely a special calling. You'll be definitely blessed if you're guided to do that. Also, don't be afraid just to reach out and possibly be a foster parent to some of these kids. It's a life-changing situation, absolutely. And Melinda, as we're kind of winding down, I'm going to give you the last word. Is there anything else that we need to talk about that we haven't covered?
No, just if anyone is interested in being on the board, or they have a, real interest in the children's home, if you could let myself know, or Jason Shear, who's our juvenile judge here in Kennett, the Dunklin County area. He appoints those members, and we would love to have people that are really interested, that really want to work and have a passion for this cause. It's definitely is needed. As I said, we have over 110 foster children in Dunklin County and only 8 licensed foster parents. And so it is something that is really needed. I can't think of anything more important in our county than our children.
And again, as we're winding down with Melinda Harris, we're on Welcome to the Booth with Darren Todd, KDX AM 1590. And just for those listening, I'd like to thank Melinda for giving us some time today, and I'd like to thank everyone for being part of this program. And on behalf of my producer, Misty Hankins, and my executive producer, Evan Todd, I'd like to thank you for making us a part of our day, and I hope you have a great afternoon and a better tomorrow.